I judge people the moment they speak. Sometimes, before they do, before the sentence, before the performance, before the mask finishes setting in. Not because I want to, but because I have to. The wrong person can cost you peace. The wrong conversation can destabilize your focus. The wrong connection, maintained too long, can quietly dismantle everything you built. So, I stopped waiting for clarity. I stopped needing evidence. I started observing immediately, in silence, without apology, without permission. I don't ask people to reveal themselves. They already do. With their tone, their eyes, the delay between their words, the fake laugh when the room goes quiet, the energy shift when someone else enters. They don't even realize it, but I'm already categorizing. Safe, useful, neutral, unstable, and sometimes dangerous. This isn't malice. This isn't superiority. This is strategic self-defense. Because in a world built on social illusion, the most intelligent thing you can do is watch without speaking. The average person waits to be harmed before they judge. The intelligent person sees the early signs and quietly adjusts their distance. Schopenhauer once said, "The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him." He was right. To the shallow mind, everyone is just nice or mean. To the sharp mind, every micro move means something. Every word choice is a tell. Every silence is loaded. Smart people don't wait to be proven wrong. They scan for misalignment before the contract is signed, before the friendship forms, before the attraction deepens. They read people like weather and forecast accordingly. They don't always show it. They just shift, subtly, gently, without confrontation. If you've ever looked at someone and just knew something was off, the vibe didn't land right. The compliment felt forced. The pacing of their speech didn't match their energy, and you walked away without saying why. You just knew. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. That's intuition trained through experience. And the smarter you are, the more ruthless your perception becomes. Not because you're heartless, but because you've seen what happens when you ignore it. Subscribe. Because here, we don't explain our instinct. We refine them. We don't react to what people say. We calibrate based on who they are when they think no one's watching. This is cold mind. And in this space, we don't judge to feel superior. We judge to stay protected. But what exactly makes silent judgment such a powerful cognitive tool? Why do intelligent people choose it over confrontation? Over explanation. Even when they're completely right. Let's go deeper. Let's break it down. You've heard it since you were young. Don't judge people too quickly. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Everyone deserves a chance. But intelligent people know something different. They don't wait for proof. They don't wait to get burned. They filter early, often, and quietly. They don't judge out of cruelty. They judge because they've paid the price of letting the wrong energy, and they know this truth. It's not about being right. It's about not being wrong, about the wrong person. Judgment, when done silently and internally, is not moral superiority. It's a high-resolution survival filter. It's how intelligent people protect their time, their energy, and most of all, their focus. Let's break it down. Pattern recognition. Most people look at the surface. Smart people look at the structure. They're not listening to your words. They're tracking your loops. How many times have you said, "I'm working on myself," but never changed? How often do you complain about your life, yet defend every excuse? They notice it. They file it. Not out of cynicism, but because they've seen this movie before. They're running subconscious pattern matching all the time. Have I seen this archetype before? How did it end last time? How fast is this person repeating their cycle? It's not personal. It's pattern-based prediction. And it works. While others fall for charm or intensity, the intelligent fall for nothing. Because they're not here to be impressed. They're here to stay calibrated. They've learned that most people don't change. They just repackage their dysfunction. And once you see the pattern, you stop being shocked. You just step back. Risk assessment. There's no such thing as a neutral connection. Everyone in your space either adds clarity or adds confusion, adds momentum or adds friction. Smart people treat people like variables, not in a dehumanizing way, but in a strategic way. They ask questions early. If this person turned on me, what damage could they do? Do they have emotional self-control? Do they play victim when they're held accountable? They're not paranoid. They're just experienced. They know how fast one unstable person can unravel months of progress. One emotionally immature friend can drag you into problems you never created. One manipulative coworker can distort your reputation with a whisper. So what do? They rank people not by how friendly they are, but by how dangerous they could become under pressure. Because the wrong person doesn't show up wrong. They show up slowly. And by the time you realize it, they've already burrowed into your life. That's why intelligent people assess risk, not just charm. Value, calibration. Most people evaluate others emotionally. Smart people evaluate energetically and strategically. They're not looking for perfect people. They're looking for resonance. Does this person bring peace or tension, clarity or fog? Are they ambitious but not grounded? Kind but not clear? They don't care if you're nice. They care if you're consistent. They don't care if you talk big. They care if your life proves your standards. They watch how you treat the waitress, how you speak about people who aren't in the room, whether your posture changes depending on who you're talking to. They calibrate you quietly, then adjust your access accordingly. No need for confrontation, just internal decisions, followed by quiet reorganization. If your presence begins to cost more than it contributes, they'll feel it fast, and they'll fade faster. Social mapping. Think of the intelligent mind like a control room. Each person they meet gets a file. Not judgmental, just informational. This person is high output, but high drama. This one is slow to open up, but deeply loyal. This one means well, but always folds under pressure. This one flatters, but never follows through. Over time, that mapping becomes second nature. So when the storm hits, they already know who to call, who to distance from, who to never trust with power again. They're not reactive. They're prepared. It's not because they're cold. It's because they've built too much to let one wrong human burn the whole structure down. Their map protects their system. And the cleaner the map, the less drama they encounter. Survival mechanism. Let's go primal. Thousands of years ago, judging quickly meant living longer. Our ancestors didn't have time for benefit of the doubt. They had to assess, is this tribe safe? Does this stranger signal threat? Can I trust this pattern? Those who judged fast lived. Those who gave everyone a chance didn't. Today, the threats have changed, but the instincts remain. We no longer fear tigers. We fear manipulators, time wasters, energy thieves, and our nervous system still reacts, still notices, still judges. The more intelligent you are, the more in tune you are with that ancient mechanism. You no longer explain away bad energy. You just leave faster. You no longer argue with red flags. You just trust the scan. And that's not harsh. That's evolution at work. So no, judgment isn't the enemy. Judgment is how intelligent people stay aligned. It's not about ego. It's about protection. It's about precision. They don't judge to feel superior. They judge to stay intact. And when done quietly, without expression, without announcement, judgment becomes one of the most powerful tools of self-defense in a chaotic world. And to use that tool, they don't need confrontation. They don't need to argue, to prove, or explain. They just observe, with focus, with stillness, with accuracy. In the next part, we break down how intelligent people use silence to analyze the room and stay 5 moves ahead without ever saying a word. They rarely ask direct questions. They rarely argue. They don't need to, because intelligent people don't collect answers. They collect data, and data doesn't lie. Even when people do. They don't make loud accusations. They don't demand confessions. They just watch, in stillness, in silence, in psychological clarity. And what they see, most people will never notice. Here's how it works. Micro-expression reading. Most people focus on smiles. Smart people focus on eye tension, on the corners of your mouth, on how your eyebrows twitch before you react. You say you're not mad, but your nostrils flare. You say you're just tired, but your pupils shrink. You say it's fine, but your jaw pulses like a ticking bomb. They catch these things. Micro-expressions are facial movements that flash across your face in 1/25th of a second. Too fast for most people to process, but not for the high perceptive. They've trained their nervous system to register these tiny emotional leaks, because no matter how scripted your words are, Your face tells the unfiltered version. And when those two stories don't match, the silent mind takes note. They'll catch the disgust you tried to hide, the fear behind the smile, the arrogance inside the compliment. And in that instant, you've already told them more than a full conversation ever could. Behavioral analysis. Words are easy. Behavior isn't. Intelligent observers don't track what you say. They track what you repeat. You said you were done with chaos, but your friends are all walking emotional hurricanes. You said you don't like gossip, but you always have the latest news on someone else's failure. They won't call you out. They don't need to. They're running long-term analysis. What is your default move under pressure? What happens when nobody's watching? Are your decisions aligned or convenient? You can fake a story, but you can't fake consistency over time. And once the patterns emerge, they begin to chart a clear profile. Not who you say you are, but who you've shown yourself to be over time. And at that point, they don't warn you. They simply close the file. You're cataloged, and your role in their world is now limited by design. Consistency checking. Nothing drops your credibility faster than misalignment. You say you value integrity, but you cover for your mistakes. You say, "I never lie," but you distort stories to gain sympathy. You claim you're about growth, but you crumble when challenged. Smart people don't call this out. They just keep a mental list. They don't mind one inconsistency. Everyone slips. But when the pattern repeats, when words diverge from behavior across time and context, they know what they're looking at. A person who performs more than they live. A mind that wants the image, but not the cost of authenticity. And that kind of person can't be trusted in high-stakes territory. So what do? They keep you close enough to observe, but far enough not to rely on. That's not distance from emotion. That's clarity of hierarchy. Value alignment testing. This one's subtle. They're not asking, "Do you agree with me?" They're watching how your body responds when values come up. They talk about responsibility and see if your energy contracts. They speak on sacrifice and notice if you disengage. They mention discipline and track if you shift the topic. You don't have to debate. Your micro-choices reveal where you stand. They're not offended by disagreement, but they're repelled by people who fake agreement for social gain. They don't want consensus. They want integrity of stance. When you smile and nod, but your eyes betray discomfort, they sense the fracture. And once they see that you're mirroring their values to gain approval, you lose their respect. Because, to the intelligent, alignment isn't agreement. It's authenticity under pressure, character assessment. This is the final scan, the one that matters most, because intelligence can admire charm, but only trusts character. They watch how you treat someone who's not useful to you. They observe how you act when the camera's off, when the status is gone, when the transaction is over. You want to impress a smart person. Be kind when there's nothing to gain. Be honest when lying is easier. Be consistent when no one's checking. They'll never tell you this, But they're grading your unseen moments harder than your performance. They're watching how you show up in silence, how you behave when no reward is present, how you speak about people who aren't in the room, because that's where the real architecture of your integrity is found. And if it's hollow, they'll walk away, not in anger, but in certainty, because once they've assessed your character, they don't unsee it. If you've ever looked back and said, "I knew something was off, but I ignored it," that's your system screaming for better observation tools. And now, you have them. Because here, we don't just sense energy, we analyze it. We measure behavior. We protect our inner world from false signals. Subscribe if you're ready to see people for who they really are, without asking a single question. This is Cold Mind, where silence isn't weakness. It's intelligence in its purest form. But knowledge without application is noise. The true power of silent observation is what happens after you've read the room. How do you adjust? Where do you move? Who do you allow closer? And who do you fade without drama? In the next part, we go beyond analysis and into social dominance without noise. Judging others silently isn't just for clarity. It's not a personality trait. It's a tactical advantage. Because every relationship, every coworker you trust, every room you step into is either giving you leverage or slowly bleeding your power. Smart people don't just observe to understand. They observe to position. Let's break down how silent judgment becomes real-world strength. Relationship selection. Your time is limited. Your energy is finite. Your attention, one of the rarest currencies you hold. That's why intelligent people are ruthless about access to their emotional space. They're not antisocial. They're selective. Letting the wrong person too close can shift your habits, dull your focus, hijack your progress. They don't just ask, "Do I like them?" They ask, "Does this person fuel or drain? Do they reflect where I'm going or where I've been? Would I trust them when things fall apart?" One misaligned person in your circle can set you back months or years. Not from malice, just misalignment. So smart people filter early. Connection is earned, not assumed. Professional advantage workplaces aren't just performance arenas. They're power grids. The intelligent don't play loud politics. They play quiet positioning. They listen more, watch more. They know who makes real decisions, who appears loyal but leaks information, who flatters now but folds under stress. They don't confront. They reposition. They loop around sabotage. They support visionary leaders, not just popular ones. They track weaknesses silently and wait for the moment to move. Because in high-stakes environments, power doesn't go to the loudest. It goes to the most attuned. Social navigation. Most people get pulled into drama. Smart people map around it. They don't wait for betrayal. They spot instability early. They're not cold. They're calculating the cost per interaction. Does this person sharpen me or distract me? Is their presence calming or chaotic? Am I helping or enabling another emotional loop? If the energy cost is too high, they vanish. No fight. No. Farewell. Because clarity doesn't require conflict. It just requires motion. They don't explain their distance. They just stop investing. Influence. Opportunities observation gives data. Timing turns it into power. Smart people don't push. They pause. They store patterns. They speak only when it matters. When the other person needs clarity, they know when minds are open. And that's when they drop a sentence that lands deeper than a whole pitch. Their silence creates tension. Tension crée présence. Présence creates authority. They don't say much. But when they do, people listen. Because they've mastered the art of waiting to be heard. Protection mechanisms. Judgment isn't just strategy. It's mental hygiene. You can't afford constant leaks. Not emotional. Not energetic. Smart people observe continuously, not to control others, but to protect their inner structure. They track subtle tone shifts. They feel the mood change. They spot when someone's respect drops before it becomes toxic. Then they adjust. Less talk. Less access. Less vulnerability. Because in a world of performance, the only way to protect your clarity is to watch more. Reveal less. Judgment isn't cruelty. It's prevention. And that's how intelligent people stay calm when others are unraveling. But even discernment has a dark side. Left unchecked, it becomes over-isolation, suspicion, disconnection. When judgment becomes reflex, you risk mistrusting the right people. You risk cutting yourself off from real connection. That's why the final part is essential. How to keep your judgment clear without losing your humanity. Judgment isn't about cutting people off. It's not about being cold, distant, or morally superior. True judgment, disciplined judgment, is about placing people at the right distance. Not too close, not too deep, not in the wrong position. It's about energy, placement, about knowing who belongs, where, based not on hope, but on pattern. Because the intelligent don't cancel people. They don't need to. They simply stop feeding systems that don't feed back. They don't waste time debating red flags. They don't chase closure. They don't try to fix what keeps breaking. Instead, they make a clean mental note. This doesn't serve where I'm going. And they step sideways, quietly. Ethical framing. This isn't arrogance. It's emotional ethics. You are not required to give access to everyone. You are not required to explain your boundaries. And you are definitely not required to continue investing in someone just because you once did. Intelligent judgment doesn't shame people. It simply doesn't reward inconsistency. It moves with clarity, not confrontation. And when that becomes your frame, you stop cutting people off. You start placing people correctly. Implementation tip. The 3-day observation challenge. Here's your challenge. For the next 3 days, don't explain. Don't fix. Don't react. Just watch. Let people reveal themselves. Let their priorities, their patterns, their contradictions unfold without your interruption. You'll be shocked at what becomes obvious once you stop trying to fill in the blanks. Who shows up out of convenience? Who listens when there's no spotlight? Who shifts energy depending on status? Write it down. Sit with the clarity and adjust your boundaries quietly, precisely, unapologetically. Because most of what you need to know about someone was always there. You just talked over the signal. Freedom shift. And when you stop needing to understand everyone, you'll notice something else. Inner silence. You're no longer trying to decode mixed signals. You're no longer spinning in emotional confusion. You simply know, this person is here. That one belongs further out. This one doesn't get in again. That's not heartlessness. That's mental clarity. And it's rare. Because when your judgment becomes clean, your energy becomes calm, and your life becomes quiet. Not because less is happening, but because less noise gets in. If you're tired of misjudging people, tired of giving your heart to someone who only brought confusion, if you're ready to see the world through a strategic lens, not a wounded one, subscribe. This is where we learn to see, to keep what builds us, to avoid what breaks us, and to survive this world without losing our depth. Welcome to Cold Mind. Your clarity starts here.